Alex, what have you been up to?
Oh crap. There's a lot going on right now. Went to Nashville for the STR Wealth Conference. That was amazing. First time in Nashville. It's like my new favorite city now. Totally,
Yeah?
totally.
Wow. It's like the Hollywood for country stars. I want to go.
It's crazy because I was like, oh, this is why people like country music. I was like, this is amazing,
Was it
right?
good? Oh, I
Oh
love
yeah.
country music. I haven't given it a listen in a while. I have to get over there.
So anyway, met tons of people that I haven't met in real life because I've been meeting, with COVID, we've all been, meeting everyone through Zoom or Facebook or Instagram. And now all of a sudden I met like 300 people I haven't met in real life, So that was very satisfying for me.
Yeah, so cool. It can be so overwhelming, yet so fulfilling all at the same time. Like it's kind of almost like a hangover after, like what just happened? Like you meet so many people and ingest so much information.
Yeah.
But it's so good to
Lost my voice right away, right
oh
off the bat. I was like,
no.
oh my gosh, I can't. I'm 6 hours in and I got no more voice here.
Painful.
Yeah. How about you? What's new?
Well, just still settling into NorCal, so missing my SoCal sunshine right now, lots, but yeah, it's been really great up here, just a lot more
Yeah.
room, a lot less people that we've been enjoying. And yeah, just looking at deals right now, looking at one that's interesting, still grinding on the startup life, just doing all the things.
Cool. Hey, let's get started. What do you think?
Yes, let's do it.
Everyone, how's it going? Alex Sabio here from Southern California. If I haven't met you, please reach out to me. I invest in short-term rentals. We have scaled our portfolio in a short amount of time. We have 6 short-term rentals, and we're closing on our first hotel in 5 days, 76 units in Northwest Arkansas. So it can happen in a short amount of time. You just got to put in the work and network your butt off and you'll get there. Love this group, healthcare professionals investing in real estate. I'm still working at the W-2 right now, hopefully quitting soon. We'll see how that works. But we're financially free because of the short-term rental business. Met Savannah, started this amazing group. It's been a little over a year now, and we've met some amazing people and have had some amazing guests. So
yeah, awesome. I will share a little bit. So I'm Savannah. I'm a registered nurse as well. I just left LA to come up to Northern California. We're kind of house hacking up here. So we rented our primary in Los Angeles out to travel nurses room by room. It's so expensive down there that it's really allowing us to live kind of rent free up here in NorCal in a way bigger house with a yard and so much more room. So house hacked into this home up here. I invest primarily in multifamily real estate. I own and operate syndications, have raised over $3.5 million primarily from other healthcare professionals who want to invest passively. And so kind of providing some of these passive investment opportunities and opportunities for healthcare professionals to build wealth. But just love networking and meeting people in the space. And this group provides us a huge opportunity to do so. Austin, I'm more specifically in Santa Rosa. So if you haven't heard of that, it's kind of in between San Francisco and Napa. It's like the best of in between the city and wine country. It's really pretty up here. So with that, I'll kick it over to Austin. I love Austin, when you go to your Instagram profile, the first thing that's up at the top is education. I feel like that's so key and something that Alex and I always talk about is just educating people on this stuff first and foremost. So super excited to hear your share a little bit about you and what you're doing in the space.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, everyone. Savannah, I'm about 10 minutes south of Napa. So
oh, no way.
Yeah. So we have
Yes.
a lot of events that we do out here. I'm speaking at an event in the city next weekend. You should definitely stop on by if you have the time.
Yeah, I'll have to link up with you after this call for sure.
Hey, what about my invite, man? What's up, dude? Come on.
Fontana's a little bit of a drive. That's
yeah, I'll come up there. I've been wanting to get up there and meet a lot of the NorCal people. But yeah.
Oh, we see Frederick is in Santa Rosa too. There we go.
Wow.
About 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes, 25 minutes south of Santa Rosa. So we're here. We have a good little network of investors, in and around the Bay Area. It's quite a large region. So there's different sections of investors, and we have a blast. I am investing in real estate all over the country, primarily using an acquisition strategy we like to call creative financing, which includes a lot of different things. And so am I able to share my screen? Do I have?
Yes.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, perfect. So let me do this. I'm going to run through this pretty quickly.
Yes, we love PowerPoints.
My wife told me I had to get this stuff ready. She's a
Yeah.
graphic
Mhm.
designer. That's her job. And so she said, let me help you out a little bit with all the speaking engagements that I do. So we got started in 2019. That's my wife and my 3 boys. They're 9, 6, and 3. Their names are Micah, Hendrix, and Kaio. And we got started because we tried to buy a house in 2019. My wife was about to give birth to our 3rd son, and we thought, we need more space. Like anyone with young kids knows, our primary goal as parents is just to get our kids tired so they take a nap. And so we thought, all right, bigger space, they can run around in the backyard. So we got started in 2019, wanted to buy a house, went to the bank. I knew nothing about real estate or finance, anything. No one in my family's ever owned a home. And so I had no clue what I was doing. But we went to our credit union and filled out an application and said, hey, we want to buy a house. We came back the next week and the banker politely told us that we were unable to buy a house. And that was because the income was going to be underwritten only on my wife or only on myself, because they didn't know if she was going to go back to work or not. And so we felt crushed. Anyone who's married on this call can, put yourself in my shoes as a husband. Like, we're already insecure as men. It doesn't help to have a banker say you can't buy your family a house. And so I was absolutely crushed as a dad. Man, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time as a dad. So for someone else to tell me I really don't know what I'm doing was even worse for me. Having to look at my kids and know that I can't provide for them, even though they were too young to really understand that concept, absolutely crushed me and only further magnified how insecure and how I felt so inadequate. And so, I don't sulk much. Everyone around me knows I'm pretty hyperactive and I like to move. And so after, drowning in my sorrows just a tad bit, I did some research and I learned that in 2019, along with myself, 9% of all mortgage applications were denied. That's mortgage applications to buy new homes. 9% of all applications were denied. To put that in context, 9.3 million Americans were told that they can't buy a house in the United States. To me, it just didn't make sense. That didn't seem fair. It didn't seem right. And so we decided we were going to start a company to help increase home ownership across the nation. And if we need to skip the banks, we're going to do that. And so I went to the one place I knew I could rely on. Every good millennial probably remembers this. I asked Jeeves. Everyone remember Jeeves? I asked Jeeves for everything. And I said, Jeeves, like, what the heck? How do I do this? How do I buy houses without banks? And Jeeves told me that back in the day, real estate used to trade without banks. It used to trade person to person. And this was a common practice, especially in the Midwest, the South, and the Southeast. And so I further went on my millennial educational journey. And I started going to Google and YouTube. How do I buy houses without banks? And literally, like, questions like this, top places to invest in real estate, I would learn from Google. This is where I was going for a lot of my education. Google, YouTube, Ask Jeeves, all of those platforms. What I actually did was I went to Google and I researched real estate attorneys, because I figured if anyone's going to teach me how to buy houses without banks, it's going to be a real estate attorney. They know the legalities. They know what needs to happen. And so I Google searched real estate attorneys, Bay Area, California. And I went to every single page and called every link that popped up for the first 4 pages, every single link. And I called the office, and this is what I would say, Alex, this is how, like, ignorant I was. I would call and I would say, if you're the real estate attorney, I would say, hey, Alex, my name is Austin. I've got this deal that I'm looking at and I want to be able to buy it without a bank. Is this possible? And literally, like, attorneys would laugh at me and, like, think I was joking. Like, they didn't think it was serious. And so I just kept going until I figured out more information and figured out how to actually structure these deals. The 4th attorney I called actually told me that I could do it and kind of clued me in on the paperwork that I needed to actually get through with it. And I kept going. I called 12 more real estate attorneys, and some of them said, no, you can't do it. But all I was looking for was that one person who could confirm the information. And so we started moving in real estate, started, figuring out best places to invest. If you don't know these websites, you should just Google on the information you need. There's a ton of free information out there. But we got started, and so we had to pick a market. And maybe you're in this place where you're still trying to figure out, hey, what am I going to do? Where do I invest? What's the right place to invest in? This is the criteria we used. This is based on our idea that we're going to help people own homes. And so after all of this happened, my wife and I decided our company is going to exist to help 1,000 home renters become homeowners without banks. This is the vision of our company. This is what we're going after. Increase home ownership for families who would never think it's possible. And so we decided to pick a market. When you're investing, depending on what kind of asset management strategy you have, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, flips, whatever it is, your criteria may change, but this was ours. It's a market with 100,000 minimum residents, 45-minute drive to a major metro market, 2 out of these 3 things for employment: military base, major university, or a major hospital. Doesn't have to have all 3, just 2 out of the 3. And here's what that does for us. It shows us there's diversification in employment. If you look at Detroit, Michigan was heavily reliant on the auto industry. Everything was auto industry, everything, until they realized that they can outsource everything to Mexico and do it for a lot cheaper. And right when that happened, the whole economy collapsed. And even to this day, Detroit is still trying to recover. And so we figured that if a market has 2 out of these 3 things, military base, hospital, university, it should show a stable economic climate there.
Going back to being told no, it's crazy because I had a coaching call today, and an investor was saying, I was told no like 4 different times, and it seems like I can't do it. And this was the first call I had with this student. And I said, well, I got 10 banks for you to call. Like I got 10 different lenders, give them a call. And she was still hesitant because she was told no already. And so it was just kind of ingrained in her mind that, you know what, it's just not going to happen. How am I going to do this? So that's kind of why she reached out to the coaching program, which was pretty cool that she did, because now she has like all these contacts that I can share with her. Savannah, you've been told no a lot too, right?
Yes, I cannot even tell you, like just hearing that, like I remember the pain, like even now when I'm told no, you know, by lenders, or so you're wanting to do a deal and you're so passionate about doing it and someone tells you no, it really does shatter that vision that you have for the goal and whatever you're trying to doing. But what I have learned as a newbie investor, it hurts a little bit harder because you think like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or I don't have the right deal, or I don't have the right team, I'm not doing it right. But for every person that tells you no, I feel like there's 5 different people that are looking for exactly what you're trying to do. And there are people that will help you. And for me, it's always like, okay, when someone tells me no, I'm getting that much closer to the person who's going to tell me yes. And that's kind of how I've switched my mindset with it.
Yeah, and networking is so key, right? Joining groups like this. I mean, there's so many other people. And I think that was my biggest mistake when I first started. I relied on my talents, which wasn't very much, right? Like in my knowledge. And back then in the early 2000s, the internet wasn't like that big of a thing where you can go search for everything. But if I had to do it again, I would have networked with so many people and realized, yeah, there's all these people doing all these things. Like Austin's buying stuff like creatively, right? Like, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of his deals, but
how are you for being able to problem solve tech while on a call? Because I like panic and then I just start like, I can't even fix anything at that point because I'm like, I don't even know if it's broken, nothing's working.
Right.
So power to you for getting through it. It seems like
no, I've done so many Zoom calls and so many presentations where all the tech goes wrong that honestly, I don't know if you guys heard anything I said, but I just kept talking while I was logging on my phone. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. These people join this Zoom because they want to know how to buy homes without banks. I'm going to make this happen. And honestly, I'll say this, Alex and Savannah, one of the biggest skills you can have, not just in real estate, but in owning a business, because that's what essentially you do, right? If you manage any kind of asset, specifically real estate, you've started a business, regardless of how you look at it. One of the greatest skills you can have is to become a problem solver. If you're unable to do that, and some people just aren't skilled in that, and that's okay. But if you can't look at adversity and look at the possibilities of how you can solve those problems, it's going to be really challenging for you. And so when I got into it, right, we didn't set off to invest in real estate. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was, I knew how I felt when the bank told me no, and I never want another family to feel like that again. And so we said, okay, how do we solve this problem? Some of the greatest companies and inventions come from, here's a problem, how do I solve it? Let's figure this out. And so if you're able to solve problems, and I'd say the second thing is, and you know, there's no like pretty term for it, but I just think a sense of grit. Like you've got to have grit, because investing is going to suck. Like entrepreneurship sucks. It's happy-go-lucky for a month when you first start, and then you actually reach like a challenge that you've never reached before, and then you remember, oh my gosh, this could all collapse in any moment.
And then you have to dig deep inside of yourself and solve another problem. And then you coast for like a month and you're like, this is the best. I love being a business owner. I love being an entrepreneur. And then something else happens. Like I woke up this morning, some of our investments are in Nashville. And I woke up to a picture from my property manager of a tree that had fallen on one of our rentals because there was a storm, I guess, or it was raining and windy, and a tree had literally fallen on the house. Like this is the kind of stuff you wake up to. And I could easily, let that detract me from what I'm doing, but there's just this grit that you have to have. Savannah posted it in the chat, a book, Angela Duckworth. Yes, that's a great book. If you haven't read it, you should. It's absolutely incredible and definitely helped with our mindset.
Mindset's huge, right? Like a lot of people say, what if, all these things. And I tell people, what if it works out better than whatever you've expected?
Yeah. What if it works?
What if it works, man?
Yeah.
I mean, but we tend to focus on all these negative things, but yeah.
Absolutely. I see another book suggestion, The Power of One More. Yes, Ed Milet is great.
I love all Ed Milet stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to just keep rolling without our slide deck because I don't know what's going on with our internet.
Sure. No problem.
So we got to the place where we said, all right, we can, legally we find out from the real estate attorneys, we can do this. I did the same thing with title companies. I would call and I would say, hey, Savannah, my name is Austin. I have this deal in front of me. I want to figure out if it's legal for me to close on this deal without having to use a bank. Is this possible? And again, same thing, the title companies would giggle, like they would laugh at me because it's kind of cute, like someone calling you and like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Please help me. But there is something to be said about the person who can have that much humility and not feel ashamed or embarrassed. And that's also, I think, an aspect of grit. Like we don't care what it looks like. We just need to figure it out. And so I called real estate attorneys, called title companies, called everyone, and basically said the same thing. I want to buy a house without a bank. I have no clue what I'm doing. Can you help me? So we had enough answers and enough real estate attorneys / title companies who agreed that we could close deals without banks. And so what I started doing at that point was, man, I just started networking on social media. Like I just started going crazy. I figured, okay, there's a real estate investing niche somewhere. There's a group of people who are as crazy as I am. I've just got to find them because I'm going to come against a problem that they're probably going to have a solve for. And so I might as well meet them now. And actually, Alex is one of the first people I ever saw on a Facebook group, Northeast Ohio.
I remember.
Yep.
That's all you know.
Yep.
You don't invest there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think you were getting out.
I was getting out, yeah.
And you were in Euclid, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Euclid,
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was literally that kind of networking that I was doing. I used to network a lot, especially through the pandemic on social media, on Instagram specifically. I want to share this. This helped me a lot. And then we'll get into some numbers on some creative deals. My day is insane. I wake up every morning at 4:10 a.m. Not 4:15, not 4 o'clock, 4:10. I coach CrossFit at 5 a.m. My class gets done at 6. I get back home at 6:15. I work from 6:15 to 7. And then at 7, my 3 boys wake up. I got to get them fed for, before school. Got to give them breakfast, got to get them ready. I get them out the door at 8 o'clock. I'm at work at 8:30. I have a regular job like many of us. I work from 8:30 to 4:30. I go home. We got to do sports. Like my kids play different sports and their fields are on different sides of the city. It's so annoying. Like, can't you guys just play the same sport all at the same time? Make it easier for us. After sports, we get home, we've got to eat. Everyone's got to get ready for bed. My kids go to bed at about 8:15. My wife and I spend time from 9 to about 10:30. And this is what I was doing. I would go to sleep with her. So I take that back. I would go to bed with her. She would fall asleep. And then I would get back up and keep working. I would, early on, I was working until about 1 a.m. And then remember what I said, what time I have to wake up? 4:10. I was getting about 3 hours of sleep every night because I knew that this was something that I was committed to. And so what I was doing was from 6:15 to 7, I would spend all that time on Instagram. I kid you not. This is how I found all of my private money. All of my private money for our portfolio, I found through Instagram. This is how I found our second deal, which was actually a portfolio, through Instagram. For 45 minutes, I would search the hashtag bigger pockets, or I would search the hashtag Nashville, Tennessee investor. And I would click on everyone's profile, and I would literally comment on like everyone's most recent post. And then I would add them or follow them, and then I would send them a message. Like I was super committed to networking because I knew that all the answers I needed were in my network. And if I didn't have a network, I'd have no answers.
Mhm.
And so I spent so much time there. I was doing this thing that I call 4x4, where I was creating meaningful conversations with 4 people on Instagram, 4 people a day, or 4 days a week. So 4 people a day, 4 days a week. I was reaching out, commenting, following them, and sending them a message and trying to create a network. To this day, I do that probably about 2 days out of the week because it just got a little busy and my networks kind of worked for me at this point. But literally, we built $1 million rental portfolio through private money, all on Instagram. Our second deal was a portfolio in Akron. I found that on Instagram. Someone just sent me a message. They saw what we were up to, and that was creative as well. I'm going to jump into some numbers. Did you guys want to throw anything in before we keep going?
No, that's crazy. That's like the Gary Vee method. Gary Vee says, you spend like 8 hours a day. And a lot of times people just like a post or say great or something like that. But the thing is, the people that have meaningful conversations, like, oh my God, I went through the same exact thing in 2008 and I'm in that market too. It sucked totally. Instead of just saying that was amazing or congratulations or something like that. So it takes a lot of work, man. And adding 4 people every single day, your network grows, right? Imagine like having these, especially if you're posting all the time on social media, over time, I mean, years, you'll have all these people following you. So kudos, man. I still remember reaching out. So
Yes, I love it. And I love what social media makes available for us, especially today in investing. So my very first deal, I also found on social media, but I found on Facebook Marketplace. It was outside of Nashville, Tennessee, 30 minutes northwest in Clarksville, Tennessee. That's one of the markets we identified as minimum 100,000 people, 2 of the 3 major university, hospital, and military base, 45-minute drive to a major metro market, right? So we don't invest, like, I'm not going to buy anything in Nashville. That's just my own philosophy of investing. I'm going to buy things outside of Nashville. And the reason being is Clarksville benefited from Nashville's appreciation without Nashville's price tags. And so in the 3.5 years that we've owned this one rental, the comps next door sold for double what we bought. So we know that we've at least doubled in equity if we decide to use it. And so we found it on Facebook Marketplace. It was listed as rent to own. And remember, I'm coming fresh from talking to all these attorneys and title companies. And so I've got all this information that I'm like, I know exactly what to look for. I know what kind of legalities we need to include in the paperwork. We bought that house December 2019 for $130,000. It's not in California, obviously. $130,000 would get you like a garage out here. $130,000. It was a 3-1 with a bonus room. We only had to give the seller $14,000. And he gave us an interest rate, right? So he's our bank. This was seller financing. He gave us an interest rate at 3.25%, amortized over 30 years. And so our mortgage payment every month, I just paid it on the 1st, is $600.24. That's what we pay monthly for this house. We just placed the tenant for $1,400. And so that profit margin would be what, $799.76, right? But because our vision and what we do is to help increase home ownership, we don't rent it out for long-term rents. We do what's called a lease option, or a lease with an option to purchase. And so what that does is it tells the tenant, hey, because you're moving towards home ownership, all of the maintenance and repairs, all the capital expenditures, everything associated with taking care of this house is actually deferred to you. So you have to do all the maintenance and repairs. You have to fix anything that breaks. And I have no responsibility or liability for it. So when I tell you that we have almost an $800 profit margin, that's net, that's not gross. The way that we're able to do it from rents that we place a tenant in minus mortgage, the rest is our net, because we don't have to account for property management. We don't have to account for maintenance, repairs, CapEx, vacancy, any of that. And so it's literally off of one house that we paid $14,000 for. We make $800 a month net. So then I started on you.
So you pretty much get your money back within 1.5 years here.
Yeah. So here's what's funny, even greater about that. So we paid the seller $14,000. We just placed our second family in this house. The first family decided that they needed to move because they had a second child and they wanted to move back in with their parents to save money. When that first family got in, we required $14,000 down payment. So we gave the seller 14 to buy the house. We required 14 from the new tenant. We basically got the house for free as a wash. We have $0 in that deal from the moment we placed our first tenant. And then with this new family, again, it's a lease option. With this new family, we didn't do 14,000, we did 20,000. So we've basically made all the cash flow plus 20,000 so far on this house.
That's so awesome. I think it's really cool. I mean, the crazy thing about real estate is you can structure things so many different ways. And I think that was what was so overwhelming for me coming into it new, is you would think that there was like a cookie cutter way to structure these deals and this is how it looked. So I'm wondering, like, for you, you know, not having real estate experience, how are you even beginning to conceptualize putting together something like that? Like you know, that sounds like legal stuff, documenting, contract type stuff. Like, how did you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So two things. The first thing, really important in business, is be certain with what you're good at and be secure in knowing that you're not good at everything, right? So here's what I'm good at. I'm good at sales, I'm good at networking, and I'm good at public speaking. Those are the three things I'm good at. What I'm not good at: finances, accounting, and anything that has to do with paperwork. That is not my jam. And so I just don't do it. That's why I have a real estate attorney. And that's why I have an accountant, because they do it and they're really good at it. And so when you ask, you know, how do you even wrap your head around this? Well, I'm creative, not in the sense of art, but I'm creative when it comes to making money. And so all I would do is get on the phone with the attorney and be like, hey, like, Tony, what do you think about this? Here's the deal. Is this legal? Can we do this? And Tony would say, send me whatever paperwork you have and let's look through it. And then once Tony signed off on it, we were good to go. I would call my accountant, same thing, and just be like, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Does this help us reach our goals? Yes, it does. Okay, we're going to do it. As long as I have the sign off on the people that are most important on my team, then we're good to go. If I were to take that on myself, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do, a lot of small business owners do, not only does that slow down your ability to scale, but you start second guessing everything. Like, my job as the business owner and the operator is not to second guess myself. My job is to be good at what I'm good at. I'm good at acquisitions and sales. I'm good at networking, so that's why I host a lot of events, and I'm good at public speaking. That's why I go to a lot of events. Outside of that, I'm just not good at those things. And I'm 100% secure in that. And so as long as I can rely on my team and trust them, then I'm good to go.
You had a question roll in the chat. So did you have to reimburse the first tenant with the 14,000 when they leave? But if I remember correctly, the first tenant you didn't have do that. That's the second one. So if that was the case, like, what kind of terms do you have in the legal documents about that?
Yeah, so what it is, we'll call it it's a non-refundable fee. Okay, I use words like down payment or deposit because it makes sense to the general public, but legally it's a non-refundable option fee. And what that option fee says is, if I'm to place Savannah in this house, we're going to agree upon a purchase price at the end of our term, right? So with this tenant, the first one, I said, hey, let's sign this agreement. You're going to buy this house for $185 at the end of 3 years. And because I'm giving you a discount, because we don't know where the equity or appreciation is going to go, it could be worth $225 at the end of 3 years. We don't know. But because we're locking in your price right here, and I'm going to give you control of the asset to do whatever you want with it, you need to give me a $14,000 non-refundable option fee. Right? And so let's say we get to the end of 3 years and the house appraises for $250. Well, I just lost out on $75,000 I could have made, but they benefited because it appreciated higher. And so for that reason, hey, let's scratch each other's backs, $14,000 non-refundable fee.
I'm curious how it goes having those conversations with people, because I would assume that someone who's just coming to rent a house for, you know, $800 a month, that, or, you know, $1,400 a month, that they're not looking to put a $14,000 down payment on it. So, I mean, how are you working some of these? They're almost like unique tenants in a way, right? I mean, is your marketing a lot different than it would be for long-term tenants?
100%. Two things I always teach people is you have to find out who you need to meet, and then you need to figure out where they are. And so when I'm marketing to place tenants in these houses, I'm not marketing to everyday people. I'm marketing to someone who can't qualify for a loan right now through a bank, or I'm marketing to someone who doesn't want to pay 7% interest. And so we have a house right now, it's about half a mile down the street from where I live right now. And we're placing a tenant. The way that we're finding these families is I've built enough relationships with lenders, lending officers, who either approve or deny someone's mortgage application. I'm making contacts and relationships with agents and brokers who are working directly with these families. And I'm marketing on Facebook groups. If you have not leveraged the power of Facebook groups, like local Facebook groups, you are missing out. I post everything. Local Facebook groups, buy, sell, trade groups. Like, if there's an opportunity for someone to buy a house today for 4% interest, you don't think someone's going to be interested in that versus getting quoted for 7%? And so I specifically target those families. The common misconception is that someone who can't qualify for a bank loan or doesn't want to qualify for a bank loan is like a bad person or has something wrong with their money or their finances. And that's not the case at all. It is actually challenging for someone who's self-employed or 1099 or contracted work to find a lender who will work with them and to use that income for a loan. It's actually challenging. Here's another situation, right? It's who do I need to find or who do I need to meet and where do I find them? What about someone who was laid off from their job during COVID and couldn't make their mortgage payments and had to foreclose a house? Is that a bad person? No. But here's the issue. They're not going to be able to buy a house for the next 7 years. It doesn't mean that they're irresponsible. It just means they had a financial hardship. And so what happens to the person who doesn't earn a lot of money, but came up on some kind of inheritance where they could qualify for, a loan through me? Should they be allowed to buy a house? Absolutely. If they can prove that they have this money, then why not? And so we target specific demographic of people. And I will say this, because I know not everyone on this call is into lease options and creative financing, but it's the same way when you market for short-term rentals. You market to a specific group of people and other deals come in, other groups rent your place. But if you can niche down and market to a specific avatar, like that's the win. Even when you're trying to buy a house, who do I need to meet? Where do I find them? Right now, we're marketing for creative leads, like creative deals. So who right now would be willing to sell a house creatively? And we draw up an avatar. And I'll drop that avatar right now so you can see how much we think about this. It's someone who bought a house in the last 2 years and their list price is about the same as what they bought it for. In our eyes, that person would entertain a creative deal because once commissions, closings, and taxes are paid, they're in it for a net loss. Mm-hmm. Right? So, okay, so where do we find them? Well, we find them on the MLS. And we have certain criteria that we use to search and scrub through the MLS to find those people. For us, not everyone is the right person to work with. We know who the right person is. And so we market specifically when we're buying a house and when we're placing a tenant.
We have a question. Vaughn, do you want to take yourself off mute and ask?
Vaughn can't ask questions. I'm outlawing Vaughn from asking questions, bro. What's up, man?
So going back to the 185, the 1,400 per month. My question is pretty much, let's say after 3 years, it appraises for higher than 185, and they want to buy for 185. So how do you structure it? Do they pay 1,400? I mean, plus, to reach 185, or how does that work?
So let's say the house appraises for 225, which is what the next door house actually sold for last year, right? Our purchase price legally is still locked in at 185. And so they get a good deal because they walk into that house with at least 40,000 in equity.
I'm curious how you're making those assumptions, 3 years out, what the home price would be worth. What are you using to do that?
Yeah, so we usually do 4% appreciation, which is super conservative in the markets we're in. Nashville was like 7.5. I think it was close to 9. The Bay Area, where we have a couple, just ridiculous appreciation. It's insane. So we do super conservative 4%, and then we back off a year as well. So they were 3 years. So we did 4%, and then we backed off a year. The goal isn't to squeeze every dollar out of the deal. The goal for us is to get a family in a house that they love and for them to achieve this dream of home ownership. That's the goal. And so there's many deals where we leave money on the table, and we're okay with that because that's not the goal for us. Now, you might that might be your goal, which is fine. Like maybe your goal is to maximize profit on every single deal. Well, then your criteria is going to be different. But our goal is it's more of like a passion project where we know we might lose some money on it, and that's okay for us.
Yeah. Vaughn, did you get your question answered? You got a second part? You got a follow-up question? You got to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to take my hand down.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Fine. I think I can throw it.
Yeah,
down.
but other than that, thank you so much for answering my question.
Yes, sir.
For sure. Another question that dropped in. So does the 14,000 apply to the total purchase of the home after 3 years?
No, it does not. So essentially you can look at it. So we bought the house for 130. That first tenant, we said their purchase price was 185. You can technically think of their purchase price as 199 because they gave us 14 at the top of the deal, and that doesn't go back to them.
The price of the business.
Yep, that's it. And if we, now you can say that their option fee goes to the purchase price, and you can say that part of their monthly payment goes to the purchase price, which we don't have that included in our paperwork because that makes the legalities and the paperwork more complex. And so what I told my attorney was, we want the simplest, most straightforward way of doing this. What do we have to make sure we do? What do we have to make sure we don't do? And this is the way that we decided to run with our business.
A couple more questions. So what if after 3 years, they still can't afford to buy the property?
Yeah, so this is the hard part. So the first tenant moved out, right? They had a baby, a second baby. They needed to move in with their parents. Technically, we could say you're still legally on the hook for this. We could go there. But again, because our business model is to help people own homes, we said we're going to void the contract on our end, right? We'll make it void. And what we're also going to do is we're going to give you back $7,000 from that 14 to help them move. Like, I just know how challenging it is to have a young child. And so we decided, the best route for us, we had already made, we've made enough money off of this. Like, we didn't need to squeeze everything out of it. And so we voided the contract. So all liability is gone. And then we gave them back $7,000.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because even people in my syndication deals, they sign 100-page legal documents and they're in the syndication for $50,000. People always ask, what if I need the money? What if I need to liquidate it? And it's like, technically you're on the hook, you have the contract, but obviously if anything like that did come up, there's so many different options of being able to work with you, selling that percentage to another investor, us being able to take over that percentage and pay them out at a price. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways around legalities and contracts like that. You have a couple more questions. So what's the option fee? Well, hi, Ramel, first off. He asked, what's the option fee and if the 14K was to get in?
So I just want to confirm two questions are, what is the option fee? Is that in general, like define option fee?
Oh, maybe he's going to take himself off mute. Are you ready, Ramel?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we got you.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got like a 14K down. You're telling me that the buyers or whatever who's doing the lease option is going to have a 14K down payment, but isn't there an option fee where, if they want to, when you're saying lease option, they have the right to exercise that option to buy, correct?
Correct.
Or when at the end of the contract, whatever term it is, they have the option not to buy. Obviously the option fee is like waived, but you're also keeping the 14K, is that correct?
Yeah, so we call it an option fee, but it's non-refundable. So in general, what you're saying, yes, usually in a lease option, you would have an option period where you can exercise that option to purchase the house or not. What we do is we say non-refundable to begin with, just so that we can get paid for the work that we've done.
And so the option fee technically is that 14K, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then when you're, and like Savannah was asking, or somebody else was asking, when you're like calculating your numbers as far as like, the appreciation, are you doing it on, well, you're in that one market, but are we technically got to just kind of look at the market, our market, and kind of like look at what the appreciation is and kind of like predict like the 3% appreciation after X amount of years, and
yep, exactly,
whenever they want to, yeah, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, it is market specific. Like I said, we have rentals here in the Bay Area that are much higher than 4%. We have We just closed one in February in Las Vegas, and Vegas appreciated over the last couple of years a lot more than 4%. But what drives our decisions, again, it always has to come back to this: are we helping people own homes or not? Right? If our goal was different, and our goal was, are we maximizing profit or not, then we'd probably charge more. But our goal is to I actually want them to buy the house. Here's the issue with the rent to own model is whenever anyone hears rent to own, it's like there's already this super predatory idea with that business model. A lot of people look at rent to own and think, okay, they're just in it to take advantage of people, which in all honesty, a lot of rent to own models are built that way, to take advantage of people. Here's what's different and separates us. Again, it comes back to homeownership. When you sign your paperwork with us, there's 2 stipulations in this. Number 1 is you have to complete a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University course. That's included in our paperwork. We will not let you move in unless you complete a course, and we'll even help you find it. Right? So that's number 1. The second thing is my wife and I pay out of pocket to enroll our tenants in a credit repair program, because it's not just about making money. It's about financial literacy and teaching people that they can own homes and teaching them how to do it. And so for us, I would be more fulfilled, in all honesty, if these families go through these 2 steps, and then at the end of the period, they say, you know what? We feel so competent in this. There's another house we saw. We actually want to go buy that one. I would be elated. like that would be it for me. What thrills me isn't seeing my monthly rental checks come in. That's nice. It affords, like right now, my wife just took the kids to go watch the Mario movie. Like it affords us to do stuff like that. Every Friday, I take my kids to Starbucks in the morning and then Chick-fil-A for lunch. Like it affords us to do stuff like that, but that's not even what fills me. What fills me is seeing families grow in their financial literacy and becoming competent enough to make wise decisions. And so what's important, regardless of where you're investing or how you're investing, you've got to, your whole investing model has to be driven by your philosophy. And if your philosophy is to squeeze every dollar out, then go out there, maximize every single deal. Like you need to. That's your philosophy. For us, it's just increasing home ownership through creative deals. And so we don't need to squeeze every dollar out of a deal.
Yeah, definitely something that has very much set you apart is your clear mission, because I have seen so many other investors come in this space and then it's like, you're inundated with all these decisions that you have to make as you're building your business and choices, and there's constantly trade-offs and handoffs that you need to make moving into the space of real estate investing as an investor and even as an entrepreneur building a business. And for you, because your mission is so clear, that the decision making is easy most of the time. It's like it's point blank, for you. And I think the clearer that people can get on your vision and mission and overall, like, why do you want to own investment properties? It will make things easier as you scale, for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
Someone asked, how did you set the amount of option fee?
Honestly, that's like that's one that we don't have a clear system on. Out here, it's usually around 10%. So that one we bought for 130. We signed an agreement for 185, and then they needed to give us 14,000. I think that's like 8.5%. There's one right now down the street from me. We bought it for 560, where we only had to give the seller 50,000. Right, so $50,000 to control a $500,000 asset without a bank. Like that's a win to me. This family, we're going to ask 50,000. And so if it's a wash, great, but we're right around the 10%.
We're wrapping up the last like 5-10 minutes. If anyone has any other questions, otherwise I'm going to ask a bunch more. Austin, I'm super curious how you scale. Like, what does the scalability look like of this over the last couple of years? And interested to hear like referrals. Do you get referrals from some of your tenants who are like, wow, you've just been given this option and now like lease to own with a great company family? Have you gotten into any of those?
Yeah, you know what's so important in real estate is your reputation. It's everything in real estate, in business. Your reputation is everything. And so this family that ended up moving and we gave $7,000 back of the 14,000. Oh, look at that. He's got the book to prove it.
Reputation driven. That's what I'm reading right now.
Oh, love it.
Everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And so like this family that just moved out, right? We gave him 7,000 back and voided the contract. You know who's moving into that house? Their friend.
Hmm.
like this is how you want to build your business. I don't actually want to spend so much money in marketing. I really don't. I want to build a very clear reputation and brand that does the marketing for itself. And so 100% we get referrals. We get referrals for creative leads. We pay $1,000 for anyone who sends us a lead that we can close on. And so some of those criteria that you can look for are if you find any homes that are for sale by owner, if you find homes that are listed and have been listed longer than 60 days, if you see a home that's had multiple price reductions in the last 30 days, like all of those we consider leads. And then if we can close on it, we'll give you $1,000. So that's also something that goes around word of mouth where leads are referred to us.
Awesome. Is any like final suggestions to some of the people in here who are maybe thinking about doing this, or just like how to kind of get started? It seemed like you were so focused and motivated that it was maybe seems pretty clear cut for you of what you needed to do to get this rolling. But for anyone who's kind of unsure, any advice?
Yeah, I would say this, lease options aren't for everyone. And even managing them and using this as an asset management strategy, it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But what is for everyone is the acquisition strategy of creative financing. Now, like I even look at you, Alex, like, can you imagine, I don't know what your deals look like, but in Tennessee, can you imagine giving a seller $14,000 and being able to make, $60,000 on a short-term rental? Right? Like it's mixing creative financing, which is an acquisition strategy, with your current asset management strategy. Like, honestly, I think if you're doing anything right now, I think this is the gold right here. I think it's finding deals that you can buy creatively and then doing midterm rentals on them.
Yeah.
I think that's where all the money is right now. Like if you want to go big, buy something with less than, 20,000 to get into a house, and then just cash flow the heck out of that thing for traveling nurses and physicians, traveling businessmen and women, like midterm rentals, insurance companies. Like, I think that's the gold, honestly. And so when you're listening to this call, I don't want you to think, well, that's not something I do. I don't do lease options, so I can't use anything he said. Yes, you can. You can find a creative deal. Here's the easiest way to find one. This is like super simple. You can do it right now on your phone. Now, more than I've ever seen, agents are actually listing which houses will entertain creative offers. They're telling you to call them and try to structure something creatively. In 2019, when the market was crazy, I never saw anything like this. 2020, I never saw anything like this. You can go on Zillow or Redfin in the market you're marketing to or investing in, and do keyword seller financing, see if that pulls anything up. Do keyword lease option, because you can buy investment properties with a lease option as well. Keyword lease option, see if that pulls anything up. Type in the word creative, see if that pulls anything up. Like, you can do this right now on Zillow, and I swear you can find leads. I was in bed 3 nights ago at 1:00 in the morning, and I pulled up 21 leads on Redfin, and we started calling yesterday. We've already done 2 walkthroughs. Like, it's not hard. And so if you're on this call and you're like, I just need to find my next deal, I would do that. I would go on Redfin or Zillow, search keywords creative financing, keywords seller financing, keyword lease option. And I know most of you are like, well, I don't know what to say when we finally get on the phone. That's awesome. I didn't know what to say either. Here's a really simple script. Hey, Alex, my name is Austin. My wife and I are buying rentals in the area. I saw your listing on Davidson Street, and I noticed it said lease option. Can you tell me more?
Done.
Alex, as an agent, his job is to sell this house. His livelihood, his family eating and surviving depends on him selling this house. He's going to tell you everything you need to know. And then you take all that information, you say, great, thank you so much. Let's do a call next week or tomorrow. You take all that information, and then you find me on Instagram at Austin Largusa. You send me a DM. You say, hey, Austin, this agent said all of this, and then I can help you walk through that deal and make sure you can close it. Like, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. My attorney told me this: in creative financing, anything is up for negotiation outside of what he says I can't negotiate.
Yeah, you'll be shocked at the amount of things that you can negotiate in real estate and contracts when it comes down to it. It is pretty mind blowing, the different things that you can kind of hash out in a legal agreement. Okay, we have probably one last question and then we'll kind of wrap it up, but someone asked, did you do regular tenant screening? So maybe just kind of walk through what you're looking for in tenants and what your screening process is. I know you mentioned Dave Ramsey, but anything else?
Yeah, so we screen our tenants like you would screen a long-term tenant, right? We use avail.co. They have a good background check where you have to submit your pay stubs to. So we go through all of that, like that's important. So we use that system.
Awesome, cool. Well, thank you so much for this wealth of information. It's crazy. Alex and I have had so many guests on here and we've never had anyone talk through kind of creative leasing options or lease to rent like ever. So super cool. Excited to add this to the YouTube collection. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more? What's the best way?
Yeah, so honestly, Instagram is where I do all business. At Austin Largusa, I think I put it on here. Hopefully it's my name on Zoom, but you can search it there. And then I'm actually launching something May 1st, and I wanted to offer it to your group at a super steep discount. I'm going to do an 8-week course where I walk you through from lead generation to placing a tenant in a creative deal, literally like hand holding. Every week is going to be a recorded video with an assignment. Every week, we're going to have a Zoom call. You're also going to get access to, I'm going to do a separate workshop on public speaking and communication so that you can get better at sales and learning how to talk to people. And then I'm also going to do this. We're going to host an event in August. I don't know where you guys are located geographically, but we're going to host it at the Chase Center where the Warriors play. And anyone who jumps in on this deal, we're going to give you a discount on your ticket. It's going to be dope. The stinking Chase Center.
The Chase Center, man?
Yeah, the Chase Center, where Steph and Clay are just crushing it.
It'd be better if it was on at crypto.com. Everyone knows that. But
yep, so we're doing all of that.
That's amazing. Leveling up, man.
Yeah, I honestly, one of my biggest things is I just love teaching. That's one of my favorite things to do. And so if anyone is interested, send me a message on Instagram at Austin Largusa. You're going to get a really steep discount on this 8-week course. Awesome. Oh, hey, Lelaine. I see some people in here I know. Vaughn actually lives like an hour away from me. We work together. Lelaine, I think she's in Dallas or somewhere in Texas. Awesome. Oh, there we go. Yep, through Instagram. Instagram is it. If you're not on Instagram, you need to get on Instagram.
Yeah. I think, seller financing, creative financing is going to be kind of like midterm rentals is it right now. I mean, seller financing is going to be it where, some people they have these really low interest rates. And like, you're right. If the market starts to dip, they're not going to be able to sell. And so if you want to go in there and swoop in and find the deal, I think it's going to be it. So, yeah.
So just for quick numbers, our last house we just bought down the street, 2.9% interest rate.
2.9. You don't find that. It's going to triple here in a little bit.
Yep. And so if you want sub 3% rates, let me know. We're going to figure this out together.
Right.
Nice. Such a pleasure having you, Austin. Super great to connect. Thank you everyone for being here. As always, we love just connecting with other healthcare professionals and real estate investors who are ready to connect and learn with other people. So, Alex, any parting words?
No, this video will be up on YouTube. Please watch it again. Please reach out to Austin. Networking is extremely important. Having someone like Austin on your side as your friend is going to help you grow as an investor. So next month, what are we talking about next month, Savannah?
Oh, I think multifamily, maybe capital raising type stuff. We are
talking capital raising with a very, very special guest next month. Hope to see you guys then.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.